You know, for nearly 3 decades, I've watched new riders cut their teeth on Honda's seemingly bulletproof 250 Rebel. Those light, easy to maneuver, low to the ground, confidence-inspiring motorcycles just seem to live on forever, as they appear to get passed down from new rider to new rider. So no surprise that when it came time to hit the restart button on the old Rebel, that Honda would want to keep the Rebel spirit alive for a whole new generation of riders by sticking to that tried and true formula. Only this time around, the Rebel just looks a little more bobber than chopper. Plus, you have the choice of powering your Rebel with a liquid-cooled 300cc fuel-injected single-cylinder engine or a 500cc fuel-injected parallel twin. Other than that, both bikes are pretty much the same. You get a light-handling bike with a low-slung riding position, thanks in part to the easy-peasy 27-inch saddle height. On the technical side, there's a 6-speed gearbox, a compliant 41mm fork, and strong brakes that provide really good feel. Plus, ABS is an option on both models. So how do the new Rebels work out on the open road? Well, Honda Canada figured the best way to answer that question was to launch the Rebel in the city where it was designed, Los Angeles. And here now is Graham Jones of Inside Motorcycles.
So last night, Honda took us out to a surf shop right there in Abbot Kinney and rolled out the motorcycle. What was your first impression when you saw the bike?
The first impression, definitely love the styling. It's very young, it's very fresh. I find that that's the most, the thing that stuck out the most to me when they first revealed the bike. It's definitely very compact. You know, you notice the tidiness of it, I guess.
You know, I like that term fresh approach. You know, it has a fresh feel. You're right. It's kind of like a new way of approaching a cruiser or a bobber, if you will. It's not quite a cruiser, is it?
No, it's not. It's got some styling points from cruisers. It's got some retro styling as well. But really, it's totally up the alley for these younger, newer riders that are in the urban areas that are definitely leaning towards this kind of styling.
Yeah. Now let's break it down a little bit. I was on the 500 this morning, and I was thoroughly impressed. It's got a really nice sound. It's got some good torque, not a lot of vibration, a really easy motor, but a lot of power. How was the 300 this morning?
Yeah, so the 300, definitely a lot different. You definitely notice the difference in power and throttle delivery, but it's super easy to live with. It's very smooth and mellow. You know, there's no concern for newer riders to get on this bike and feel like they're going to be intimidated by it at all.
What about the brakes?
Brakes are not bad. You know, there's no ABS, so people have different opinions on that, of course, and whether that should be mandatory for introductory bikes such as this.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the brakes seemed absolutely fine to me. Now, we didn't have it, you know, gunning through the canyons and banging on the brakes and jamming it really hard, but in the city, you know, absolutely no concern. Progressive feel, yeah, nice system for sure.
How did you find the suspension? I'm 185 pounds. I was on the 500 and I found it was very balanced. It was good for my weight. The roads here were not that great. There were a lot of potholes in Los Angeles. I was surprised, but I never got unsettled. I never got pounded. How about for you?
Yeah, exactly the same thing. You know, it's a suspension that's built for a specific purpose. You know, there's not a lot of travel out back, but it's designed for that style more than the function of it.
Yeah.
You know, the front end's a bit soft, but overall it's entirely capable of doing what it's needed to do, which is do some commuting, do some casual riding around, and you always got to keep in mind the price. You know, like this is a bike that's built to a price point to be inviting for riders, and it's not going to have top-of-the-line suspension.
Yeah.
But what they've done with it works great for the package.
Yeah. How did you like the fit and the finish, the saddle? Like, were you comfortable in it?
Yeah, I was actually. For the first little bit, I found my footing a bit off where I was trying to find the gear shifter, but it came around within the first 10, 15 minutes of riding. The seat I had a little bit of an issue with. I find it a little bit biting. I'm not sure if I could do, you know, full heavy days in the saddle with it. But the riding position, the ergonomics felt really great to me. You know, it seems like such a compact bike.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like you're all hunched up. You know, there's some bikes that you ride where you feel like your knees and your elbows are touching each other.
Yeah.
But there seemed to be a lot more room than I anticipated, for sure. I love how it looks. That's really my favorite part of it. I mean, it rides great, but it's just such a basic, effortless bike to get along with. I mean, that's a fantastic part of it too. But it also means there isn't highlights, you know, nonstop here. It looks good to me. Some of the stuff that they've done with some of the custom bikes that we've seen have been pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So yeah, to me, it's a styling bike.
So we agree the 300 is certainly more of an entry-level motorcycle, somebody that's getting into the sport. What about the 500? I'm surprised. The 500 has enough jam to keep me happy, but who would be the typical buyer of this motorcycle, the 500?
Yeah, that's a good point. It is an engine there's enough there for regular riders like you and I that, you know, especially if somebody's on a budget and they are doing mostly commuting in the city and they happen to like this kind of style and maybe are into the retro sort of thing, the custom chopper cruiser thing, but are hesitant about actually getting an old bike because of everything that comes along with that.
The liability.
Yes, exactly. And you know, to me, the price point is great. I do think it's the newer or more intermediate rider that is going to be attracted to this bike.
Yeah.
And it would be totally fine for a new rider, actually. Like the 300's there for those that are really concerned about getting on their first bike, but a bit of a taller person or maybe somebody who's a little more confident could get on the 500 as their first bike and not be an issue.
Nice job. Well, thanks for joining us today in Los Angeles.
You're welcome. Yeah, thank you.
Been fun.